Welcome to part two. We're talking about the causes and results of the revolutions in England, and this is following again the Georgia Standards for World History. Again, my name is John Newton, and welcome. We left off with just a very brief mention of the English Civil War. As I told you guys, the Roundheads were against Charles I. The Cavaliers, or the Royalists, were in support of Charles I. The Roundheads found a very excellent leader in Oliver Cromwell. He was actually not of nobility. He was just a regular guy. As we previously stated, the result is the Roundheads in a series of battles basically defeat the Cavaliers. King Charles I is captured by 1647, and what happens next is something that is just fascinating, astonishing, and somewhat mind-boggling. Parliament sets up a court to put the king on trial. Now, kings have died before, they've been assassinated, they've died in battle. This is the first time that the people have tried and executed their monarch. So the court basically condemns him to death. I guess I killed that one with a lead in there. They say he is a tyrant, a traitor, and a murderer and public enemy. So in January of 1649, Charles I, with a single chop, it's off with his head. His final words are, "I am a martyr of the people." With this single chop, Parliament has sent the message that in England, no ruler can claim absolute power and ignore the rule of law. And this ends the English monarchy. Not only does with this single blow lop off his head, it kills the monarchy. They abolish the House of Lords. And they establish the Church of England and England as a republic, and they call themselves a Commonwealth. A Commonwealth is a term for the government beginning when the monarchy ends in 1649 and will last until the Restoration in 1660. And I know I kind of killed a little bit of that, but with the lead in, but in the beginning, this Commonwealth is, it's a good idea. They kind of needed a little bit of time, probably away from the monarchy. I would not say, and this is of course my own personal opinion, a lot of historians would probably agree and some would disagree with me, that the total dissolution of the monarchy was not the best idea, but there needed to be a restoration of a balance in power that the Parliament supplied. So Oliver Cromwell is now in charge. You've got the Parliament and Oliver Cromwell. Cromwell starts facing opposition from Charles II, or at least the supporters of Charles II, who is the son of Charles I. They start attacking from places like Ireland and Scotland, and Oliver Cromwell He raises an army, goes to Ireland, and just crushes this uprising. Charles II goes into exile. In 1652, Parliament passes a law exiling most of the Catholics to land and it's not very good land in Western Ireland. You will see splinter groups called the Levelers. They thought that the poor should have equal say, just like the gentry, the nobility, the people, who are in the upper echelon, if you will. Even women felt like that they had a right to petition Parliament, and Cromwell is just sort of kind of had enough. So in 1653, he takes on the title of Lord Protector, and this is where it kind of becomes funny because he forms a military dictatorship, if you will, and so now you've got a different kind of absolute ruler. So you go from the absolute monarchy to this absolute ruler who is really a dictator. But he don't call himself a king. He calls himself the Lord Protector. So to this point, the things that you might need to know is that, again, the Roundheads beat the Cavaliers. The Roundheads are Oliver Cromwell's group. The Cavaliers are the supporters of Charles I. Charles is beheaded. House of Lords is abolished. Parliament exiles Catholics to Western Ireland. And in 1653, Cromwell basically is a military dictator, and he calls himself the Lord Protector. (1658), and of course, so in between 1653 and 1658, it is this Lord Protectorship, if you will, that allows the Puritans to basically just run off as many Catholics as they possibly can, kill them or whatever. Now, what Cromwell does is, while they hate, detest, whatever term you prefer, Catholics, he does something that's kind of interesting. For the first time in like 350 years, they allowed Jews to come back into England. And that's kind of an interesting little aside there for you. So in 1658, Cromwell dies, and with the death of Cromwell, this is really the death of the whole Puritan grip on England. In 1660, there's a newly elected Parliament. They invite Charles II back to England from exile, and this kingless decade, if you will, ends with the restoration of the monarchy. So we go from monarch to essentially a dictatorship, back to a monarch. And so in part 3 of this, we will talk a little bit about the Restoration, and that will sum up the English Civil War and all the stuff that's going on with England during this time period. So thanks for watching. Again, my name is John Newton, and come back for part 3.